Brett Kavanaugh is one of the finest human beings you will ever have the privilege of knowing or meeting.
The Senate has a responsibility here, and they have got to take the politics out of this situation.
You have to have some standard of evidence before you destroy a man's life. You at least have to give him the chance to defend himself.
We have to get out for the midterms. Promise me. Don't be complacent. The new platform of the Democrat Party is radical socialism and open borders. I won't allow the United States to become the next Venezuela.
The president's attorneys come closer to an agreement with Mueller. The president has ordered the declassification of documents.
Anyone who said there isn't politics in the intelligence community ought to read these emails and read these text messages.
It has to come to an end. It's so bad for our country. I call it the witch hunt.
The Browns win. The Browns beating the New York Jets, 21-17 for their first win in almost 2 years.
We're talking about the Bud Light they cracked open in Cleveland last night.
I know, because they won.
They broke the losing streak.
They had a lock on the refrigerator, and the refrigerator was full of Bud Lights.
That's right.
And they got to unlock it.
Sad news for our stage manager, Joel Fulton,
Sorry, Joel.
who, as is always the case, is adorned in Jets memorabilia today. All right, joining us right now from Palm City down in Florida, Dan Bongino, former New York City police officer, former Secret Service agent. He's got the Dan Bongino Show and the author of the upcoming book, Spygate. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
Hey.
Gosh, I'm up in New York, my old hometown.
That's right. Good to have you. So, all eyes on Washington, D.C. Is there going to be a hearing on Monday? Mr. Kavanaugh says he's ready to come, but Dr. Ford's attorney said yesterday Monday is out of the question. And then she has put out a number of requirements or negotiating points where they would like to see security, certain things met if she's going to show up.
Listen, I think it's obvious these are serious charges that need to be taken seriously, and I actually appreciate what Senator Grassley's been doing to take them seriously. The problem I have with this, Steve, is when you look at what the obstacles are putting in the way to Ms. Ford's testimony, it becomes clear this now is an obstruction tactic. And there are two things. Number one, this new demand that Mr. Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh, go first is absurd. How is he supposed to count? He's being accused of a very serious thing here. This isn't a joke. How is he going to go first? He has to hear what the charges are. This is a demand that is clearly not workable, and it's being put there because I think they know nobody will agree to that.
So they'll
that's
say,
a stunt?
no, we can't do it, and then she'll say, well, then
exactly.
I'm not coming.
And look, I tried. No, you didn't try. Judge Kavanaugh cannot possibly go first. He's being accused. Secondly, although they backed away from this, the FBI demand for an investigation is outrageous. I did backgrounds with the Secret Service for the federal government. I did them. No one's going to tell me how they work. They are not, I cannot be clearer on this, and the Democrats know this, they are not criminal backgrounds. They are criminal history backgrounds. There's a difference. In other words, it's a character background. I want to make sure, Ed, if you were applying to be a Secret Service agent or a judge, you haven't been arrested. So we know what your character is. I do not do criminal investigations. If your neighbor says, hey, Ed did this when he was 16, it may have been criminal, the best the Secret Service or the FBI will do is refer it to the local police.
Meaning the FBI is not going to go to Chevy Chase, Maryland and interview suspects.
Absolutely not. 100% no. But here's what bothers me. The Senate Democrats know that, and that's the reason they said we demand an FBI criminal investigation on this, knowing they'll never do it.
So what is happening locally? Is there an investigation going on where this allegedly took place?
Ainsley, from a former criminal investigator's perspective, there's really not much to investigate here. We have a charge that's missing details. Again, this is very serious. I'm not trying to downplay the gravity of Ms. Ford's charges. The problem with it is there are no details. What are you going to investigate? We don't have a location. We have two people who were there who deny knowing anything about it at all.
Right.
What is there to investigate? There's nothing to do.
What do you think about her trying to dictate and her legal team trying to dictate the terms and saying lawyers can't ask me questions? I mean, the Senate Judiciary Committee, if they bring anybody in, they would typically have their counsels do this. Also, Kavanaugh cannot be in the room at the same time as Dr. Ford, she claims. And Kavanaugh, as you noted earlier, should be questioned first. First of all, he can't be in the room. Shouldn't he be allowed to be in the room to hear what she has to say?
Well, one of the basic tenets of the constitutional republic is the ability to confront your accuser, however. Listen, everybody at the curvy couch here, granted, it's uncomfortable to have to do that. But that's the essence of a constitutional republic in a society where we presume people innocent. You have the ability to confront your accuser. Nobody is denying that's not going to create an uncomfortable situation. But you can't have a society where they keep saying everybody has the right to be believed. Okay, granted, but does that mean that the accused doesn't have the right to defend themselves too?
Sure.
That seems utterly absurd.
Well, the President of the United States has made it very clear over the last week that he would like to hear her story. He was out in Las Vegas yesterday, and he clearly would like to see Mr. Kavanaugh confirmed. Watch.
I think it's a very sad situation. He's an outstanding person. And frankly, Sean, to see what's going on is just very, very sad. You say, why didn't somebody call the FBI 36 years ago? I mean, you could also say, when did this all happen? What's going on? To take a man like this and besmirch. Now, with that being said, let her have her say, and let's see how it all works out. But I don't think you can delay it any longer. They've delayed it a week already. And
you've been very accommodating.
I have been accommodating. I say, let her say what she has to say, and let's see how it all comes out. But they've delayed it a week, and they have to get on with it.
Get on with it. Politico has a timeline of all of the course of events, and it's very clear. She wrote a letter to Dianne Feinstein. She got it Feinstein got it at the end of July. Then early in August, Ford realized, you know what, he's probably going to be confirmed. I want to stay quiet. I don't want my name to come out. But then Feinstein, at the 11th hour, shared her letter, parts of it, a redacted version, with Democrats. And next thing you know, her name is leaked out, and now here she is.
Steve, they've had this information since July. And I've got to tell you, having been in the conservative activist space for a long time, I have not seen conservatives fired up about an issue since Obamacare as they are about this. I would caution the majority leader and Senator Grassley. I wasn't elected. I lost my election. They won. But delaying this thing any further is not going to go over well with the base. They feel like this was a stall tactic. The Democrats had this information. These were serious charges. They should have been presented right away. They were made public and leaked by the Democrats. The Republicans still have not seen the initial letter. This is grossly unfair, and Mr. Kavanaugh is entitled to defend himself. I think if they delay this thing after Monday, it's going to be a disaster.
Doesn't that blow your mind that Republicans haven't seen the letter? What is there? They are asking for the unredacted version. Why wouldn't they hand that over? We already know her name.
Ainsley,
we already know her claims.
It is the simplest of requests. Can we please just see the letter so that we can put together
What's in the letter
something
that they don't want Republicans to see?
That's the great mystery. Senator Feinstein, unfortunately, has a history of doing some of these underhanded tactics, and they had the letter for a long time. Right. And she's already spoken to the Washington Post, too.
Well, and according to Politico, she hasn't even shown the Democrats who wanted to see it. So there's something aside from her name in there that it appears she does not want.
Well, this is why I'm telling you they're creating a bunch of insurmountable obstacles so that they delay this interminably. Senator Hirono has already admitted there's a delay tactic here. They'll keep the seat open for 2 years.
Senator Hirono said they might wait beyond 2020,
which is crazy.
The Sheldon Whitehouse, by the way, the Democratic senator from Rhode Island, is saying, look, even if Kavanaugh gets through, Democrats are going to investigate him, may even try to impeach him. Watch.
Even if they were to ram this guy through, as soon as Democrats get gavels, we're going to want to get to the bottom of this. You can't ignore a crime victim's claim that something happened, refuse to investigate, throw her up into the stand without the least bit of support for her, without the least bit of effort to corroborate what she says, and then walk away from that as if you've behaved at all properly.
Well, we can talk about them, Democrats wanting to investigate this beyond the election, but also when he says a crime victim, it's not clear there was a crime here.
There was no crime ever reported. It's almost as if the Democrats forgot that there's these things called police departments. Now, I don't believe there's a statute of limitations on felony sex crimes in Maryland where this is alleged to have happened. But why? Think about it then. Why hasn't a police report been filed? These are serious questions. These are serious charges. There's a police department available to do this now. But you asked me how long would the investigation take if they did one? A day or two. There's nothing to do. There's no forensic evidence at the scene. There's not even a scene. There's a couple of interviews to be held. Both people who were there deny it even happened.
Nobody knows what house it was.
No, and then you see people like Joy Behar throwing out nonsense stuff like, oh, he should take a lie detector. There's no such thing as a lie detector. There's a polygraph. Nothing detects lies. You want him to take a polygraph test for what? He doesn't even. He says he wasn't even at the party.
And if there was a crime, why didn't Senator Feinstein give this letter in July? If she wanted to keep the name confidential, give it to the FBI and/or the police and say maybe this should be investigated.
Listen, at this point, there's only 3 scenarios. It happened, but it wasn't Kavanaugh. It happened and it was Kavanaugh, or it didn't happen at all. It's only one of those three things. And the man is entitled to defend himself. And if this didn't happen, you have to ask yourself, how many lives are they going to destroy for this? This is really unbelievable.
Well, he says he would be there on Monday, but her attorney says that's too soon. So let's find out what happens today, because every day, something new.
Sure
Thanks,
is.
Dan.
Thanks, Dan. You got it, guys.
All right, we have some more headlines for you this morning. A heartbroken mother says that her daughter fought up to the last minute after being stabbed 7 times while she was jogging in D.C. Surveillance video shows Wendy Martinez's final moments of life. Jillian Miele spoke with her mother, who says she's ready to forgive.
I am in peace. I have forgiven that person because I am a Christian, and Wendy was a child of God too.
Anthony Crawford is charged with murder in what's considered a random attack. Jillian joins us live from D.C. in the next hour with reaction from police officers. And New York City police officers training to stop biological attacks like poison assassinations. There is no specific threat, but they are on high alert ahead of the UN General Assembly, which is next week. President Trump will be there. There are no specific threats, but officers are contacting a list of people who could be targeted. The precautions come months after a former Russian agent and his daughter were poisoned in England. Former President Barack Obama hitting the campaign trail in Pennsylvania today. He is headlining a rally to support the re-election of the governor, Tom Wolf, and Senator Bob Casey. But not every candidate wants the former president in their state. Montana Senator John Tester and North Dakota Senator Heidi Heitkamp worry that he could distract voters from their own campaign. 3 fifth graders going viral for doing whatever it takes to protect Old Glory. This parent's picture shows one of them lying down on the ground, making sure the American flag doesn't hit the ground, while the other 2 are folding it. It's a sign of respect that the boys are taking seriously.
This is our nation's flag, our school's flag. It's how we represent our country.
The boys live in Idaho. They were taught how to properly fold the flag by the custodian at their school, a 20-year-old Air Force veteran.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not a sweet story.
Good lesson.
Absolutely. All right, Brett Kavanaugh tells Congress he wants to clear his name, wants to defend himself. Our next guest says what's happening to him is exactly what happened to Clarence Thomas. We'll break down the comparison. What's true, what's false next.
Plus, Texas Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke under fire for comparing police to the new Jim Crow. One Texas sheriff here with a message coming up next.
That system of suspecting somebody solely based on the color of their skin. Some have called this, I think it is an apt description, the new Jim Crow.
So a tree falls in your brand new car and totals it. And as if that wasn't bad enough.
Brett Kavanaugh is one of the finest human beings you will ever have the privilege of knowing or meeting. A great gentleman, an impeccable reputation. So we'll let it play out, and I think everything's going to be just fine.
They've got President Trump last night standing behind Brett Kavanaugh at his Vegas rally. This is Kavanaugh calls for a chance to defend himself in front of the Senate, writing to the committee chair, Chuck Grassley, quote, I continue to want a hearing as soon as possible so that I can clear my name. Since the moment I first heard this allegation, I have categorically and unequivocally denied it. I remain committed to defending my integrity. Here is reaction, columnist for the Wall Street Journal and a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, Jason Riley. Jason, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what are we seeing down in Washington?
Well, can you blame Brett Kavanaugh for wanting to clear his name? I think the problem here is that the Democrats aren't really interested in getting to the bottom of what did or did not happen 36 years ago. This is all about delaying a vote until we can hold the midterm elections. They see if they can win back the Senate and then vote down his confirmation. This is not about finding out the truth. The truth is a secondary concern at best for Democrats at this point.
And you see parallels between what is going on right now and what happened with Clarence Thomas back in the day.
Everything from the timing of the allegations
at the very end,
airing right before a vote was to be held. Hill was Clarence Thomas's sole accuser To this day, no one else has come forward with similar allegations, and no witnesses to what Hill alleged happened have come forward. Many parallels. Abortion was the overriding concern of the hearings before the sexual harassment claims surfaced against Hill. So there are all kinds of parallels here to what was going on back then. And truth, what actually occurred, was a secondary concern. To this day, none of Hill's allegations have been proven. That has not stopped Hill from going on to become this feminist icon based on things that have never been proven to have happened.
What is curious, and many people have already observed this, is the fact that if these allegations were so explosive, when Dianne Feinstein got the letter back in July, why didn't she just take it and say during the hearings, Mr. Kavanaugh, look at this?
Right. There were ample opportunities for Democrats who've had this, as you said, since July, had this information. They could have discussed it with Kavanaugh in their private meetings. They could have aired this, or they could have done it under oath when he was testifying during the hearings. They didn't do that. They sat on the information because I believe they were waiting for the best moment to drop it and do the most political damage. I think this was a calculated effort.
Look into your crystal ball. What happens next week?
I hope that the Republicans go forward, whether or not...
On Monday?
On Monday, whether or not she testifies. I hope they go forward as soon as possible. First, they said she had a right to be heard. Republicans schedule a hearing, and now they're saying she's being bullied into testifying. I don't think they can have it both ways. She may well believe what she is saying, but it doesn't mean the rest of us should automatically believe it. Memories are fade. They fade over time. 36 years ago is a long time. And the idea, if she is able to get away with taking down a Supreme Court nominee based on an allegation from that long ago that has no corroborating evidence or witnesses, I think it sets a horrible, horrible precedent.
All right. Read his column in the Wall Street Journal. Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, he's trying to unseat Texas Senator Ted Cruz, and here's how he feels about the police.
That system of suspecting somebody solely based on the color of their skin. Some have called this, I think it is an apt description, the new Jim Crow.
One fired up Texas sheriff is here to respond to that comment next.
At Vistaprint.com.
All right, time now for your news by the numbers. First number, 5 to 10%. That's how much Wells Fargo is planning on cutting their workforce over the next 3 years. The bank is looking to cut costs and to cope with customers switching to digital bank tools like apps. Next, $1,000. That's how much a company is willing to pay per day to make and taste test pizzas. If you're looking to get paid to make some serious dough, you can apply by sending the company a 60-second video proving your love for pizza. They're looking for some taste testers. And finally, 1,500. That's how many museums across the country will offer free admission for Museum Day, which is tomorrow. Head to foxandfriends.com to check out where to go and to download some free tickets. You can't beat that. All right, Ainsley,
That is nice.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Texas Democratic Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke blasted police on Wednesday as the new Jim Crow.
He was talking about criminal justice reform, and O'Rourke spoke of the historic injustices against African Americans in the past and how he says they persist today. Listen.
Too many more people here than I know firsthand continues to persist today. That system of suspecting somebody solely based on the color of their skin, searching that person solely based on the color of their skin, is why some have called this, I think it is an apt description, the new Jim Crow.
O'Rourke's campaign is saying he in no way was referring directly to the police.
But here to react is Denton County, Texas Sheriff Tracy Murphy. Sheriff, thank you for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. You were telling us earlier, you're telling our producers, you're very offended by what he said. Explain that.
Absolutely. First of all, it doesn't surprise me. You know, anybody who's been arrested as many times as Robert O'Rourke's been arrested may have some ill will towards the police. You know, his rhetoric is divisive, it's insulting, and most of all, it's dangerous.
Yeah, and so, but what do you think about the substance of what he's saying? There's obviously been, going back to the Obama administration, there's been a lot of anti-police rhetoric. And now you move forward to the Trump administration, and President Trump has made clear, look, mistakes can be made, but law enforcement is our friend. They're trying to enforce the laws of this country. Now you have this Senate Democratic candidate saying, maybe you're the bad guy.
Absolutely. You know, there's been a war on police officers for the last several years. And when someone has as many followers as Mr. O'Rourke has, and in the context that he puts police officers in, it makes it dangerous for citizens and police officers. A lot of people listen to what he has to say, and when he speaks, people take that to heart. And he needs to understand that he has a responsibility to not be divisive. And quite frankly, I don't understand where he's coming from. First of all, he may need a history lesson on who was responsible for Jim Crow laws, which party that was. Mm-hmm. And it's insulting to me as a citizen of this state and as a police officer.
He, on Saturday, was tweeting praise after the death of a Fort Worth police officer. But his campaign is saying, Sheriff, that he was not talking about police on stage. What's your reaction to that?
Of course they are. I mean, what else are they going to say? But it was pretty direct that he was talking about police officers. And you're right, one day he's praising a very brave Fort Worth police officer who died in the line of duty. And, you know, the next day, you know, we're all racist. And it's just offensive.
Yeah, and Sheriff, obviously there's a heated Senate campaign going on. O'Rourke is going up against the incumbent Senator Ted Cruz. Are you a clear supporter? We want to put this on the table. Are you a supporter of Senator Cruz, and why do you think his approach to police is better?
I'm absolutely a supporter of Senator Cruz. Senator Cruz has always been there for law enforcement. He understands that the people of Texas, no matter what party, support law enforcement. Most of them do. And he's been a friend to law enforcement, and I absolutely support his campaign.
All right, Sheriff Murphy, we appreciate you coming in today, sir.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for what you do.
All right, Democrats fired up about the accusations surrounding Judge Brett Kavanaugh. But what about the allegations against Keith Ellison? You're not hearing a lot about that. Why haven't you heard more about that? We'll get into it. Alan Dershowitz here to weigh in next.
Plus, you remember this moment, a little boy asking the president for a hug during his visit in the Carolinas with all the hurricane victims down there. Well, that boy, his name is Tucker. He's going to join us live.
Not Tucker Carlson, right?
I believe her. To be prepared to testify in the United States Senate against someone who is being nominated to one of the most powerful positions in the United States government, that takes an extraordinary amount of courage.
I just want to say to the men of this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing.
Let me just say right at the outset, I believe Dr. Ford. I believe the survivor here. There's every reason to believe her. She has come forward courageously and bravely.
I believe her. I stand with her. I don't think she should be bullied.
They've got a number of prominent Democrats talking about Dr. Ford. It's Dr. Ford versus Kavanaugh right now. That's our discussion with Alan Dershowitz, Harvard Law Professor Emeritus, lifelong Democrat, and the author of the book, The Case Against Impeaching Trump.
Good morning.
Good morning, Professor.
Good morning. So what do you make of Dr. Ford's attorney's requests for a number of things, security, who's going to be interrogating her, and the suggestion that Mr. Kavanaugh has got to testify before she makes the accusations in public?
That is the most absurd, anti-due process, anti-American concept. You testify without having been formally accused under oath. Obviously, she has to testify. She has to be cross-examined, preferably by good lawyers who can ask probing questions. Then he has to get up and respond and be cross-examined with probing questions. And I do agree with her that they ought to bring in any possible witness, a judge or anybody else, subpoena them if they won't testify voluntarily, and let the FBI continue its background check. That's what it does. But now we have people, Rachel Maddow, some of my colleagues, saying he ought to be criminally prosecuted and go to jail. And even if he's confirmed, there ought to be a criminal investigation and he ought to be impeached.
This is what he's talking about. Listen to Rachel Maddow.
There's no statute of limitations for a felony like this in Maryland. The reason they have not yet opened a criminal investigation of this matter is because they have not received a criminal complaint. I don't know if it will always be that way. If Dr. Ford ever wanted to pursue it this way, that she could at any point make that criminal complaint. Such a complaint could start a criminal investigation, conceivably of a sitting Supreme Court justice, for felony attempted rape. There is no rule against indicting a Supreme Court justice.
She goes on to explain that if he does make it through the confirmation process, he should be removed from the bench and thrown in jail for assault. Could that happen?
Theoretically, it's never happened in the history of the United States or any Anglo-American legal system that a person has been prosecuted 35 years later. First of all, there's no evidence whatsoever, even under her story, of attempted rape. Attempted rape under Maryland law requires a specific intent to, I have to use this word, penetrate. There has to be that specific intent. Here, the allegation is groping, touching, fondling, maybe trying to remove clothing. He has an opportunity, obviously, to deny that. He has categorically denied it. What the most disturbing thing is these people who are on television, some people I know and respect. I believe her. You've never met her. You don't know anything about her.
She hasn't even gone under oath to give her story.
Are women born with a special gene for telling the truth and men with a special gene for lying? I don't believe her. I don't believe him. I have an open mind. I want to hear both sides of the story and make a determination. That's what the American system of justice is all about.
What do you make, Professor, of the fact that Chuck Grassley, who heads up that committee, has asked Dianne Feinstein, who got that letter from her back in July, said, I want an unredacted copy. I want to see what she said to you in the letter. And so far, she's refusing to release it.
Not only refusing to release it to him, but to the other Democrats on the committee, as I understand it. There's no reason why it shouldn't be released. She is coming forward. She produced her name to the Washington Post. You can't, on the one hand, make the most serious accusation that anybody can be accused of, and on the other hand say, no, but I have privacy. I'm going to tell you part of the truth, but not the whole truth. That's unacceptable. So everything is now a matter of disclosure. Whether it's disclosed publicly or privately is a different matter. There may be things in the letter that pertain to her privacy. Okay, let it be seen by senators under a seal.
Meanwhile, there's been an allegation against a sitting Democratic member of Congress, a number 2 official at the Democratic National Committee, Keith Ellison, by a woman who's been on the record for some time, and it's a lot more recent than 36 years ago. And you don't seem to hear a lot of Democratic leaders.
And also, she's now produced some documentation about what she said before she made the accusation. Look, it would be better if she could come forward with the videotape she claims exists. But the one rule has to be a single standard for Democrats and Republicans. You can't have Rachel Maddow and other people on television applying one standard to Kavanaugh and another standard to a man who was the deputy director of the Democratic National Committee and now is poised to become the Attorney General, the chief law enforcement officer of Minnesota. You have to have the shoe on the other foot test, has to be passed. What you are saying about somebody who is a Republican, you must have to say about somebody who's a Democrat. You have to have equal justice in this country.
Yeah. Well, you're supposed to, but it doesn't always work out that way.
It doesn't work out that way, but I'm here to put pressure on people to make sure it works out that way. We have to have a single standard. I don't care whether the Democrats are hurt, the Republicans are hurt, somebody I voted for is hurt. A single standard of justice. If you don't have a single standard of justice, you're in the world of Lavrenti Beria and Stalin, who said to Stalin, show me the man and I'll find you the crime. We're now trying to criminalize the confirmation process and put people in jail. People are not going to want to serve the country if they have to go through this. Look, there's no excuse for any sexual assault at any age, ever, under any circumstances. But you can't just presume it's true without full opportunity to cross-examine the accuser and a full opportunity for the accused, after he's accused, to take the witness stand and testify.
Well, senators are not going to agree to her terms. Yes or no? Do you think she'll end up speaking out?
I think she will. I think if she doesn't, the confirmation process will proceed. I think she will. And I think the American public benefits from hearing all sides of this and confirming or not confirming somebody based on evidence, not genetic belief in the inferiority or superiority of one gender.
We all want to hear her tell her story. Alan Dershowitz, thank you.
Thank you, Professor. All right, let's turn now to some more headlines. A police department hopes a podcast is going to help them catch a murder suspect.
This is the story of murderer and fugitive Peter Chadwick, the man who left those two boys all alone and waiting at the bus stop.
The Newport Beach Police Department in California releasing the 6-part series called Countdown to Capture. It looks at the case of millionaire fugitive Peter Chadwick, who is accused of killing his wife in 2012. Police say he could be anywhere. A teacher's accused of turning a preschool into a fight club. Ohio police say Chevette Williams encouraged kids to duke it out on the playground and would post the videos of the brawls online. The children, all under the age of 5. Williams is now out of a job and charged with 21 counts of child endangerment. No kids were seriously injured. Former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick's attorney now hinting at a return to the football field.
I would just say stay tuned, that next week there may be some news.
Mark Garagos suggesting to TMZ Sports that the Raiders and Patriots could be interested in signing Kaepernick. It comes as Harvard University prepares to give Kaepernick the W.E.B. Du Bois Medal. W.E.B. Du Bois was the first African-American to receive a Ph.D. from Harvard, and then later he co-founded the NAACP in 1909. The award goes to leaders in the African-American community. Past recipients have included Muhammad Ali and Oprah Winfrey.
All right.
A man breaks into a lion's den and, shocker, gets bitten by the lion.
It happens.
Police say the suspect was high on drugs when he snuck into the zoo in Fresno, California, and climbed over the fence into the animal's enclosure. The lion bit his foot before he was arrested. He wasn't seriously hurt. The man was arrested, not the lion.
The fence is there to keep
Thanks for clarifying.
the lions in and the people out.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Well, Janice Dean is always welcome here. We're not going to keep her out.
Hi!
Hello
Look
there.
at this beautiful crowd! Oh my gosh, are you guys happy it's Friday?
Yeah!
Are you happy you're on Fox and Friends?
Yeah!
I love it. Let's take a look at the weather maps real quick. It is a beautiful 67 here in New York City. A taste of fall. Fall officially arrives tomorrow. We do have a big cold front that is moving across the central U.S., and that could bring the potential for severe storms, including maybe some tornadoes. We had tornadoes yesterday across Minnesota and some damaging winds. So that's going to be on the move across eastern Great Lakes and the interior northeast today. The good news is we have drier conditions for North Carolina. Look at this. We got New Bern right here. How are you, sir?
Great, thank you.
How's the flooding, my friend?
It's going down, but it's cresting this week.
Gosh, well, God bless everybody in North Carolina. And you got a birthday today.
I do, 50.
All right, she looks amazing for 50, right? Oh, my gosh. Can you guys come every day? Yeah. Oh, I love it. Happy Friday back inside.
Big crowd out there today.
Very nice.
Thanks,
Friday
Jan.
in the summer.
That's right.
All right. Meanwhile, Google has been accused of censoring conservatives, and now we're learning they may have tweaked search results to stop President Trump's travel ban. Missouri Senate candidate Josh Hawley is taking on the tech giant, and he will join us live next.
Plus, you remember this moment, a little boy asking the president for a hug during his visit with hurricane victims in North Carolina. Well, that boy, his name is Tucker. He's going to join us live.
For those who are driven by purpose.
A bombshell report reveals more potential political bias at Google. The Wall Street Journal reporting that employees at the tech giant discussed to manipulate search results to help protest President Trump's travel ban. They even mold showing users how to contribute to pro-immigration organizations, but the idea was never implemented.
Our next guest is standing up to the Silicon Valley Goliath, investigating Google over antitrust laws. Let's bring in Missouri Attorney General and U.S. Senate candidate Josh Hawley, joining us today from out in Springfield, Missouri. Josh, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, this is another one of those things where a big search engine or social media giant says, trust us, we're right down the middle, fair and balanced, but you don't buy it.
No, I don't buy it, and this is why I've been investigating Google now for almost a year. We issued subpoenas in the Attorney General's office to Google, and one of the things we wanted to know is, how is Google using that famous algorithm? Yeah. You know, what kind of results is it returning on these searches? And are they biased against conservatives? Are they manipulating the kind of information consumers get to benefit Google and their platform? And that's exactly why we're investigating them.
And what has your investigation shown so far?
Well, we received a tremendous amount of information from Google, and we continue to press for more. And we want to see exactly how they're using that search algorithm. You know, Google is the most powerful search platform in the world. Yeah. And the information that people get from Google is just incredible. So we want to know, are they using it in a biased fashion? Are they also using it against competitors? That's the kind of thing we're looking at. We're going to keep after it.
Well, thank you for doing that. You are right. They are so powerful, and people feel like, the average American feels like there's nothing you can do about it. How do you go up against Google? How do you go up against Twitter? Who do you even call if you want to complain? Was there something done to you specifically that you were upset about, and that's what started this investigation?
Well, I tell you what I was concerned about is the fact that Google collects more personal private data on us, the American people, than any corporation in the history of the world. And I wanted to know how they're using that data. You know, so what are they taking from consumers? Are they telling us what they do with it? And then how are they using that search platform? I've had so many people around my state tell me that they feel that Google's search results are biased. They feel that the information they get from Google is biased. They worry about their personal information. So look, I always say I haven't prejudged anything. I'm a prosecutor, but I want to get the facts. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Okay, the president is coming to Missouri to campaign for you. What's your reaction to that? That's pretty cool.
Oh, we're so excited. You know, President Trump won this state by almost 20 points. Missourians love President Trump. They love the job he's doing. It's tremendous to have him here in the state. This is the biggest Senate race in the country right here. It's going to determine control of the U.S. Senate, this race against Claire McCaskill. It is an honor to have the president tonight.
And I'm looking at the Real Clear Politics poll average, and currently you are leading by about a half a point, Claire McCaskill.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tight race. Look, Senator McCaskill represents the radical left-wing agenda of the D.C. liberals, and that's why this race is so important. Everything that Missourians voted for and the country voted for in 2016, it's on the line in this race, and that's why we're so excited to have the president here tonight.
All right, he's going directly to the city you're in right now, Springfield, Missouri. They're in the Show Me State. Josh, thank you very much for joining us live.
Thank you so much. Isn't that where Brad Pitt's from? You were brought up in that area. I think Brad Pitt is from Springfield because my friend Courtney is from Springfield, and I think her mom was his teacher.
Really?
Check on that. Mm-hmm. And that's where Bart Simpson lived, too. Remember?
Well, there are a lot of Springfields. All right. Meanwhile, 11 minutes before the top of the hour, the best basketball player on the planet now renewing his feud with the most powerful man on the planet. What LeBron James just said about President Trump.
And you remember this, a little boy asking the president for a hug when the president was down there visiting the hurricane victims in North Carolina. So he got his hug, and that little boy, Tucker, is going to join us live coming up next. Well, President Trump was handing out food to Hurricane Florence victims in North Carolina when he received a very special request.
Can I have a
Where's Mom? Where's your dad? You did a good job.
Can I have a hug? That young boy, Tucker Newton, is a resident of New Bern, North Carolina. He joins us now. Good morning, Tucker.
Good morning, Steve, Ashley, and Ed.
It's good. So nice to talk to you. What prompted you to ask the president for a hug?
I don't know. I've always been a hugger, and I just wanted to be like, hey, let's hug the president.
Yeah. So, Tucker, what were you doing at the Temple Baptist Church?
I was giving food to people in need who don't have food right now, and so they came by and they got a takeout box and a water, and that was their meal.
And it was your mom's idea that you head down there. Your house was not impacted, but why did you want to go help those folks?
We wanted to help them because even though our house wasn't touched, we wanted them to, we wanted to make an impact. We wanted to help people in need that weren't.
So sweet of you, Tucker. You have a good heart. That's so sweet of you to do that. Thank you for helping others in need, especially folks that live in your community. What did it mean to you to see the President of the United States? You know, you learn about him in school. You don't ever imagine meeting him in person. What was it like to see him down there and helping the folks that needed it?
I was like, Whoa.
Yeah, I bet. What's the reaction, Tucker, been from your friends and your family and social media and stuff like that?
It's kind of cool. I haven't heard of some of them in a little while, because since we've moved to New Bern, but it was nice that everyone was watching and everyone was texting back, and it was nice to hear from all of them and see that they really cared.
Oh, so where did you live before New Bern?
We lived in Raleigh.
Okay, so still in North Carolina. How are you doing now? How's your family and how are all your friends?
My family is great. We're still scattered across the place. Not all of us are home yet. I haven't heard about all my friends, but the devastation here is really big. So I
All right.
think that
Tucker Newton, good heart, and he said he's always been a hugger.
Tucker, who needed the hug more, you or the president?
I think the president.
All right.
All right, Tucker, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. We've got a lot
We have a
more
lot coming up. That's right. Kimberly Strassel, we have Jonathan Turley, and we have Geraldo. They're all here on this Friday.
Geraldo's a hugger.